everybody. Sorry, we are just pivoting here and doing our first webinar because we are learning more every day about how to virtually run a successful business. And so we are going to dive in and start now. I have a little introductory story, and then I'll kind of give you a roadmap for where we're going to go. So the first question I have for you all today is, are you a buffalo or are you a cow? And it's probably an interesting question. And the truth is that there's a really powerful lesson from how buffaloes and how cows handle the storms of life. It's a lesson in success and leadership. So out in Colorado, the west side of the state is all Rocky Mountains and the east side is the plains, the flat plains. And when storms come in, they come in from the west and roll over the plains to the east. Because of the unique geography in Colorado, it is unusual in that buffalo and cows live fairly close together, and so they can be studied. So the way cows react when a storm comes in over the mountain is perfectly natural. They see it coming in from the west and they run to the east. However, if you have seen cows, you know they cannot run very fast. So before long, the storm catches them. And when it does, they continue running east. Well, you know, they can't outrun the storm. So what happens is they're in the storm longer than they need to be. They have more pain, more frustration, more rain than they would have if they just stayed where they were. So it's really pretty stupid, isn't it? But people act this way sometimes. We all do at times. We tend to procrastinate things. For example, maybe a difficult conversation with a client or an employee. We tend to put those kind of things off. Salespeople will tend to put off sales calls sometimes. There's all kinds of things that we tend to procrastinate. For instance, we had in our office, I had wanted to do webinars for a while and we had other priorities, but now because we're working virtually, we're figuring out how to do our first webinar. And we appreciate you working with us as we're having a little bump because you can't see our video, which was working a few minutes ago, but you can see the slides. So that's just another example. It's easy to procrastinate, but high performers realize that problems that are procrastinated are only amplified. Waiting makes it worse. So what buffaloes do, on the other hand, when there's a storm rolling in over the mountains to the plains, when they see it coming, they turn and run into the storm directly. They run west, not east. And as a result, their time in the storm, their pain and frustration and hassle is minimized. So it's the same storm the cows and buffalo go through, but the cows have it worse and they're in the storm longer. This is a really good analogy for the storm we're in. We're all in this COVID-19 storm together. Now it's affecting us individually in different ways. And we have personal storms that can be affecting us at the same time. But this is a unique time in that we are everybody in this storm, really not just even in our country, but around the world. And so our choice is not, do we have to go through the storm? Our choice is how we respond to it and when we respond. And high performers charge into the storm because they realize procrastination is just a creditor that charges you interest. So which direction are you heading, west or east? I think just being on this call is an indication that you're heading west into the storm. And Matt, Ludt, and I are here today to help you better head into the storm and get straight through it and come out better with less pain. So let's dive in. I'll show you an overview of what we're going to cover. First of all, Matt and I are going to tag team back and forth, covering different topics about how to successfully lead your law firm. Can you please change the slide, Megan, to the objectives and the agenda? And then after we're done with that, we, I guess I went out of order for you, sorry. Then we're going to answer questions. So in the meantime, if you have questions, feel free to jot them down or put them in the chat box because we'd love to see your suggestions and your questions as we go. After that, we're going to offer you some free resources that we can send you after the meeting. And Matt's going to close with some additional encouragement at the end. So that's the roadmap of where we're going today. And let's dive in. So the mindset of a leader is the most important thing, I think. We need to start and have the right mindset because it really influences and affects everybody that we're coming in contact with. Right now, we're in a time that's stressful for everybody at times, more stressful for some people. And we need to process that. That's real, but we also need to not live there. I think it's really important to not spend too much time on the media. I've noticed on the days I've done that, I start to get more discouraged. And what I have been doing in the mornings, I've done this for a long time, is I journal what I'm thankful for in the midst of this and the things that are coming ahead that are good. And I'm even doing it now at night a lot of times because it's just kind of a more stressful time. And for me, that is really important. It helps me stay in the right mindset. And I know there are apps that can help you with mindfulness. And if you have any ideas, you can put them in the comments. I've heard of Headspace, 10% Happier, Abide. Another thing I do, I read the Bible app every day. I mean, sometimes I don't read it every day, but I'm really trying to stay in that mindset. So once you have your mindset good and you're maintaining it, choose how you want to show up. And if we make a decision ahead of time of how we're going to show up for people, it makes a difference. And I have chosen to show up as compassionate because a lot of people are in more stressful situations than ever, but positive and encouraging. And I really remember that. I try to remember that with my staff, with my clients, and it helps me stay in that better mindset. And finally, I have a quote from Winston Churchill. This was when the UK was about to go to war against the Nazis in World War II, and the Nazis had taken over most of Europe. And it was really felt like this was kind of the last stand for Western civilization. And here is Great Britain out on this island and feeling very vulnerable. And the Nazi machine had destroyed so many. And so they were up against a lot. And they knew there were going to be fatalities. They knew it was going to be hard. And they knew the stakes were very high. And what Winston Churchill said to them was, I truly believe not only can this be your finest moment, it can be the finest moment for your team, others around you, our culture and generation, and for the people that you help. There's no question in this crisis that people need help more than ever, but it's a season. There will be an end. And if we make this our finest moment, we're going to help more people. We're going to make a greater difference. We're going to grow ourselves, and we're going to strengthen our business and our team personally and professionally. So we're here again to help you make this your finest moment. And Matt is going to step into how you can better manage your team virtually.
Thank you, Margaret. All right. So once you've got your culture, your vision, your mindset straight, the next thing that comes is your staff. Now, managing virtually may be more difficult than would have been in the office, but we believe that you're going to emerge a better manager of people because of this. So we start with the idea of how do we erase the ceiling for your staff so they can be as productive as they were in the office, if not more productive. And the first where we start is communication. You have to have a replacement for all the regular communication that used to happen in the office. We recommend a software like Microsoft Teams or Slack. This is going to replace all those emails back and forth, the text messages, the frequent phone calls within the people in your office. And it'll certainly save you from texts that say, did you get my email? Instead, everything is a live written communication amongst, you can organize it amongst your projects or your clients or your business operations. It's like a little text channel for every different topic you want, so you could stay organized. If you're a little hesitant on the fence, perhaps this testimonial is going to put you over the top. In the summer of 2017, my office, I got word about Slack and thought, oh, this might be good for us. And I went to my executive assistant and said, look, you and I use this for the next 14 days or 10 business days, whatever. And if we end up liking it, then we'll roll it out to the rest of the team. And so we started in on that. Day 1, day 2. At the beginning of day 3, I just rolled it out to the rest of the team. It had made itself abundantly clear at that point of how valuable it was. The one thing you want to do there when you make channels and choosing which selections, make yourself a water cooler sort of channel so that staff have a place to either vent or share jokes, the same way that there's something in your office where they can do that same sort of thing. Next, in lieu of being all in the office, you want to make sure that you have a stand-up meeting every morning. Generally, it's mornings, either through video conferencing or something like freeconferencecall.com. Doesn't have to be any more than 15 minutes. You just kind of have everybody acknowledge what they did yesterday, what their accomplishments were, what they're working on today, or what their challenges are. I do this at 8:45 every morning with my staff. We call in the conference call line, and it doesn't even take 10 minutes. But it goes a long, long way for us, where prior to the pandemic, 5 of the 7 of us could work remotely if we wanted to. So we've already been kind of in a place where we just have already seen the advantages of that stand-up meeting. If you're just transitioning this now, the stand-up meeting every morning should be by video, because people are not this accustomed to being this isolated, and you want to counter that. Additionally, it's a good idea to have a weekly team meeting, whereas you probably maybe got by before without one, and you're kind of just able to impromptu huddle. That's not so available now, so you need to schedule that with an agenda and have some clear notes of who gets delegated what progress you guys made last week, what you're going to be working on this week, etc. And I also advocate a weekly check-in with each team member, just to see how they're doing, see if they've got the resources they need, let them know that they're supported in this time of transition. In the free resources that we're going to note at the end is going to be the video I did recently on a new form of employee check-ins called rounding, that I think 6 minutes long, and I think it'll really open your eyes as it relates to methods of managing your team and erasing that ceiling so that they can be even more productive. Margaret?
Thank you, Matt. So yeah, we've been doing the stand-up team since before we went virtual, the stand-up meeting every morning, and it is really essential for us. Okay, I want to talk about a backup plan. So what if one of your employees gets sick, or a family member gets sick, or they're quarantined and in such a way they can't work for, say, 2 weeks? We all need to be thinking about this right now. I suggest talking about it with the staff, thinking about, let's say if it's a virtual receptionist, if if your receptionist is working virtually now, and they get sick, you can hire a virtual receptionist like Ruby or Smith AI or something. But for other roles, it's important to have your policies and procedures down and to have things in writing and to communicate with each other. We use a practice management system with tasks in it. So if someone was out sick, we could go in and look at their tasks and see what has to be done. So I think it's important to start talking and thinking about this ahead of time and discuss as a team. The second thing is, I don't know if you've heard about it, but the new Family Leave Act was effective. It's going to be effective on Wednesday, April 1st now. It was just passed in the last 2 weeks. It applies to employers of all sizes. So the Family Medical Leave Act, I never had to worry about it before because you had to have 500 employees. The Family Leave Act portion of it now applies to everybody, even if you have one part-time employee. So it applies to even part-time people who have been on your payroll for at least 30 days as of April 1st. And they get 2 weeks paid if they get the coronavirus, if they are quarantined and they can't work, if they need to take care of a family member who's sick, or even kids who are off school if they can't work because of that. And so we have a resource we're going to offer you at the end to help you with that. What's really important is if you have employees, you are required to notify them of this by tomorrow. And there's a poster that you can post in person if your office is open, or by email. So that's really important that your staff know about it. When I told my staff on Thursday, none of them knew about it. And then we are supposed to get tax credits as employers to help pay for that. The next thing that might happen is you might get sick. And so you want to plan for how will your get by. Do you have a succession plan? One of the quick things you could do is take 60 minutes to dictate, or you could, I've done it in writing too, in Word documents. What are the important things? Who's to do what? What are passwords? What needs to be done if something happens to you and you're unavailable? And so you want to have that available to a couple of people, maybe another attorney who could step in and help run your firm if you're a solo, or someone else. Maybe some of your team who is already there can do it. And so make sure that a few people know where this recording or this document is so that it can be accessed. And it actually is a good opportunity. I know I've been wanting to work from home like 1 or 2 days a week, and I just haven't really gotten to do it. And now I realize I probably could have done it sooner. I think this is going to help me make that kind of change. And succession planning is something we should all do. This is a good opportunity for us to step it up and do better. The third thing I want to talk about with backup plan is estate planning. This is the kind of situation that we plan for in estate planning. We say we want to help you have smooth sailing through rough seas because we never know when the rough seas are coming. And we're in some rough seas, but you may find that you have some extra time at home where you can dig through documents and think about questions and work on this. And so I encourage you, especially as a business owner, to make sure your estate plan's up to date. It's really important. Your healthcare directive, your power of attorney, and your what should happen if you pass away. You definitely want things to go as smooth as possible for your loved ones. So we'll have a resource for you for that at the end also. Matt?
Great, thank you. So before, when we talk about management of your staff, we were talking about raising the ceiling to improve their productivity, but you do need to have a floor to account for their minimum productiveness. So I want you to think about how your employees account now for what they've done and how you're going to do that when you're remote. Now, I expect that the character of your employees are going to govern how you supervise them. I know I've got employees that if I just went away for a week, came back without, that they'd have 40 hours of work done. I don't need to worry about that sort of thing, and it would be great work done. But you're going to have new hires that may be already on your staff. You want to keep them. You're going to need to supervise them. You may have young employees that don't have good discipline and habits yet for productivity and staying focused. And lastly, you're going to have all of our staff is now underneath multiple stressors that are brand new. You know, they're going to have children at home. They're going to have a partner that's working from home as well. Maybe their partner lost their job, but they've got cash concerns. They're going to have parents or great-grandparents that may be sick that they're worried about. All these multiple stressors are going to require you to be a little bit more mindful in your supervision. So we start with, hopefully you've got job descriptions for every employee. If not, you want to pull this together quickly so that there's no confusion as to what they're expected to be doing. Ideally, you've got an employee handbook or an office procedure manual that not only governs, things like social media during work hours, but also just all the other guidelines that are expected for them to be not just productive, but responsible in carrying through those responsibilities. Part of that you probably want to look at in regards to your employee handbook is a heightened level of confidentiality. You're going to want to, you've got employees now working at home. You want to make sure that there's a certain level of anonymity or privateness around client names, customer names, patient names, whatever industry you're in, because some of those people are probably going to be the parents of your kids' friends, and you don't want to just necessarily be talking openly at the dining room table while they're in the living room, or the same goes with their partners. Additionally, if you've got documents or other, sensitive information, social security numbers, credit card numbers, other financials, tax, all that requires a heightened level of confidentiality because you're no longer within the security of your office. So maybe you need to make sure that they're locking that up every night, or I don't know, their laptops are password protected so that if there's ever a home break-in, that client data remains protected. And lastly, so long as we've got Alexas, which are microphones attached to the internet, we want to make sure that those get turned off. And lastly, there's software out there for your hourly employees to clock in, clock out, which will certainly make payroll easier in the next 2 weeks and knowing exactly when they were working. And if you've got really dire circumstances, not dire, but you know what I mean, uncertain, there is software out there for remote computer monitoring in case you got to worry about exactly how unproductive a certain employee is. Yeah, now back to Margaret.
Okay, yeah, I just read an article that the remote computer monitoring is really being downloaded a lot right now. So I'm sure you could Google that. I haven't had to do it yet. I want to talk more about then managing virtual relationships with our clients and our potential clients. They may not be as tech savvy as our staff. In my case, we have a lot of senior clients, and so that's really true. It's important to maintain the relationship with clients. We want to keep bringing in new clients. And we found many aren't that comfortable with Zoom. If before the pandemic, if we would say, do you want to do a Zoom call or, over phone, or would you like to come in? Almost always they want to come in. And so they're stretching right now, but they are also really understanding because of the situation. So we're finding people willing to try things they didn't try before. So like many people, our go-to, first of all, is Zoom. However, I understand that sometimes people are getting slow response on Zoom because so many people are using it. The free version, you can have a 40-minute call. I think we only pay $16 a month, so we can have longer calls. If clients aren't comfortable doing that, we've suggested Facebook Messenger, FaceTime, Google if they have an Android, and I've done it with the phone. I've done review meetings with these complicated estate planning documents over the phone. They had a copy, I had a copy, it went fine. And that's where some people are at. So we've found that we need to be flexible, but we prefer the video because of the personal connection where you can see the person's face. Instead of Zoom, Matt, have you used Whereby already, Matt?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so Matt's recommending that. It's free video conferencing and it's entirely online. Another one I've heard is more user-friendly for the client is Ultra Conference, and I have not looked into that yet. When you're on Zoom, like we are today, you want to watch privacy again, especially if you're in medical field or legal field. So what we do is we make up a new Zoom number, a new meeting for each client meeting. Otherwise, I've seen clients like get on the meeting the day before just to test it out. And if I was on that number call with someone else, they would overhear something confidential. So we do them separate. For our stand-up meeting in the morning and our team meetings, those are the same number we reuse, and that's convenient. You also can use a virtual background. I don't know if you've seen that, but if you are, like my son has 2 little kids, he's in law school and he works for our firm. He is working in the master bedroom closet and you can see the clothes. And so he looks out a window, so it doesn't look bad to him, but it's not professional looking. That's a great time when you would want to use a backdrop. You can use an office one or a beautiful scene, and then you don't have to worry so much about how it looks and how you're presenting. Another tip I just got from Zoom is if you're a person who likes to write on a whiteboard, and we do that a lot, or a legal pad or something to explain things, what you can do is get an iPad and so like log into the meeting and then log the iPad into the meeting as a second user. and then share the screen, use like the Note app or something, and share your screen and draw your pictures on there, and it will show up right on the screen. If you don't want to put in the money into an iPad right now or don't have one, you could even just get a small whiteboard and use it and hold it up to your camera. So you can do some low-tech things that can make it more like your one-on-one meeting with your client. As far as documents, we email them to clients when we can. Some clients are not able to like print off documents or read them easily. And so we mail them, or we have delivered them, had them a delivery service deliver them if necessary. We are doing signings for estate planning out of the office. We have found a company, the name of it is Platinum, and they're messengers, they're notaries, they'll even deliver meals. So they pick it up from our office, bring it to the client, notarize it. We can be over Zoom facilitating the signing. The client provides the 2 witnesses, and then they can bring it right back to our office. So we're just being creative. And when we are sending those documents out, we're using more stickers than ever to show sign here, witness signs here, notary signs here, everything. We've really worked our systems to be very clear about how to do things. Plus we're available online, and so far so good. We also, Megan, who's coordinating this call, is sending to potential clients and clients a video from Zoom that tells you how to use Zoom, that they can watch ahead of time. So those are some of the practical things we've been able to do so far for keeping in touch with our clients. Matt?
Great. Also let's see, well, maybe not here, but else afterwards we can email you. I also have a tutorial for Whereby, which is neat because when they click on your link for your room, all they have to do is say, yes, I authorize my video and my mic to connect me, and then bam, they're in the room. There's no downloads, there's no logins, there's no registration. But if you've got really low tech people that are willing to give it a try, it's a low threshold of understanding to make it work effectively.
Yeah, Matt, please send us that and we'll send it out with everything else. Thank you.
Yes. All right, let's talk about the actual practical details of administering your virtual firm. I've got news for you. As recently as January 2020, before the pandemic, you and your staff were already working remotely. I know this because I know there aren't business owners that don't do some time on nights and weekends. There aren't staff members that have to stay home with sick children but can still do something, where they figure out between their cell phone and their home computer, plus whatever they brought with them, how to do something from home. And so now it's really just a question of, all right, how do we scale this to make it systematized so it's efficient and excellent? And so with that, then let's break it down into different parts. Telephones. You probably, maybe you've got landlines where you've got a copper wire that comes into the building, but now maybe you're going to turn around and forward that to an answering service. Something like Call Ruby or Smith AI. These virtual receptionists can take your custom detailed script, answer calls, screen out solicitors. If you're not available, they'll email or text you with a message. And if you are available, they'll patch it straight to your cell phone. And so to the extent that you've got a bunch of phones back in the office that your staff can't currently answer, this is a valuable workaround for you. And some of these virtual receptionists will even use your online scheduler if you need to schedule meetings and calls as well. Maybe you don't actually have a landline, but maybe you've already moved your telephone lines, your numbers, into the cloud through what's called voice over internet protocol. And one of the real advantages that comes with that is that everyone can have an app on their phone that's connected through your account for VoIP, such that then they can dial out from their cell phone and call clients, and it looks like they're calling from the office, and the client does not get their phone numbers. And so let's move on to mail and deliveries for a moment. You're gonna put a sign on your door that it's either totally closed or on a appointment only basis. You're gonna have a drop box somewhere for people to drop stuff off. Maybe maybe you got a slot in the door, or maybe that's like one of these locking mailboxes that you can put on the outside of the building to be available 24/7. You gotta decide, are you gonna have someone on a weekly basis go and see if there's anything in there, or do you wanna just have somebody get the stuff out of there when you know someone's dropped it off? You can forward your mail, your incoming mail, to someone's home. Post office allows you to do that pretty easily. We just did that this last week. You could also use a service like Earth class mail, not first, but Earth as in the planet. And this is a actual mail service that you can have your mail sent to them. They will open your mail. They will scan everything in the envelope. They will scan the envelope as well, email it all to you, so you basically get the functional equivalent of getting the mail. And then the other advantage there is if you get checks in the mail, they can deposit them right into your bank account as well. And then, as Margaret noted, there are messenger services that can not only take things different places as you need them to, but also do the notarying, the witnesses. There's also UPS and FedEx stores that are basically little remote offices as you need them to notarize, witness, scan documents, mail documents, print stuff. When you send your staff home to work remotely, you're not only going to send them with laptops and webcams and whatever other hardware you need, but you're going to send them with an office box. It's going to have stamps and envelopes and letterhead, along with whatever other supplies that they're going to need from the office, so that they, again, have the tools they need to be productive. Margaret earlier mentioned project management software, which we highly recommend. Fact of the matter is, if you're not using project management software industry now, you will soon anyway. So may as well move that way now. Two generic opportunities are Trello and Asana, where you can basically keep organized with every project or every client, whatever it is that you do in your industry, so that you keep track of where you are on all the steps from 1 to 100. It also gives the employees a constant roadmap for reviewing their own work, helping them stay focused. You're gonna have document sharing, which is gonna come now through the cloud. You know, we've got Dropbox, Microsoft One, and all sorts of other opportunities to organize all sorts of scanned documents, your Microsoft Word, your Excel sheets, all of the PDFs. You can get that organized and shared in the cloud. I think Microsoft One works the same way that Dropbox does. We use Dropbox. One of the reasons I really like it is it'll save a hard copy, well, it'll save a copy on my hard drive as well as syncing it to the cloud. So if I drop my laptop in the Mississippi River, I know that what was on there was also saved to the cloud. But on the other side of it, every time I need to access documents, it's already on my hard drive. I don't have to worry about downloading from the cloud or whether I've got Wi-Fi. And so it's kind of the best of both worlds. Tech support. You want to make sure that whoever you're using for tech support right now is willing to help you as much as possible remotely. Because now we're going to be relying on our computers all that much more with, you know, whether it's the Slack or the Dropbox or the video conferencing or anything else. It's just all the more important that our computers work the way that they're supposed to. And so, like, my tech guy, he's got software on a little software on every one of our computers called TeamViewer. And if we tell him, hey, this isn't working right, or we need this computer configured to print to this home printer, or, you know, there's some snag, he can just remote in from his own home. We don't have to worry about him coming to our office or being available. And what's great is that because he chooses to, he's available nights and weekends, which is really when I want him working on my computer, not Monday morning when I got to figure out some way to kill time until he's done fixing my computer. I started talking about the fact that it's not like you were 0% working remotely before. And I want to end now in noting that in all likelihood, you're not going to be 100% working remotely. There's going to be exceptions to the rule. There's still going to be some in-person meetings that are needed for which you're going to need to go to the office. There's still going to be some signatures that one reason or another you can't get another way, so you're going to have to meet someone at the office. You're still going to have a ton of paper that even if you minimize everything and turn as much into PDF into the cloud, there's still going to be documents that you have to keep, hold, and save, and they need to be in a filing cabinet somewhere. So don't feel bad to the extent that you get any sense of, oh, I'm moving remotely, but I still got this thing back at the office. We all have things back at the office. There's very few industries that could be entirely remote. So with that, then we still have pandemic safety measures, such as when someone's at the office, that we have to take measures to make sure we disinfect everything and disinfect any incoming items, minimize the number of people in the office, and otherwise follow the full virus protocol regarding handshakes and hand washing and everything else as much as possible, because these remote working principles are great. They were great last year, they're great now. They'll be great after the pandemic, but while we've got the pandemic, you still have to keep those other considerations in mind. Margaret?
Thanks, Matt. I really like that Earth class mail. I didn't know about that. We do something like that here where our receptionist comes in most days and gets the mail because our office is closed mostly. And we do a mail log. We had done this for at least a year before. So she scans everything, saves it in the client file, and then everybody gets an email saying, you know, like what came in for each client. It's really nice to keep an eye on top of everything, and it sounds similar to Earth mail. Okay, this is the last section before we get to questions. I just want to touch a little bit on marketing. I don't know about you, but as a business owner, this is a concern. You know, we want to keep bringing in the income and keeping our staff and keep helping people because they still need help. So the traditional question for marketing is, what's keeping your client up at night? And we're in a unique situation now because everybody's kind of in the same boat. I mean, there's individual differences, but everybody's worried about getting sick or their loved ones getting sick. Everybody's worried about the hospitals getting overwhelmed, the economy, you know, and where's it going to lead? I mean, there are really some common concerns that we're all sharing right now. So that gives us a little better understanding than usual about what our clients are going through. And so I think it's good to revisit that. What is your client's pain points now? How has it changed? What are some new ways you can help them? We came up with offering the potential new clients that had contacted us, I don't know, in the last few years and didn't hire us. We sent them an email last week offering to do a healthcare directive for them for free, because I just thought that's probably the biggest pain point when it comes to estate planning right now. And then we were a little afraid of getting buried with the responses, but we didn't. And so I think we're going to make that go wider. We're figuring out the logistics of doing that. But what are new ways you can help clients, even if it's not traditionally what they hired you for? And one of the things that we like to do all the time, and we are doing more now, is what we call care calls. We call our clients, our past clients, even our professional partners, and you can call potential clients who contacted you in the past. We just want to show that we care, check in, ask them how they're doing, see if there's anything we can help them with. For instance, if they couldn't get out to get groceries and they were an older person, they were supposed to stay home, they didn't have family around, we can tell them about resources like Instacart. You know, we try to keep a list of resources for people. And in the care calls, you can learn more about what would be helpful to your clients right now, what is worrying them. And then for your industry, so that's doing the care calls can help you understand the pain points, and then you can look for new ways to help them. And then for your industry, what is changing? If you're not on the cutting edge of industry changes, then you aren't the person your client needs. I mean, there are businesses that are going to fail during this time, probably. And, you know, we don't want that to be any of us. We want to actually do better because we're helping more people better in better ways. For instance, I don't know of a law firm in Minnesota that's been doing electronic notarization. There's a statute on it that's a few years old, and it's just very cumbersome and unwieldy. And that is one of the things on our list that we want to figure out how to do that in this time. And I think when we come out of this, people are going to expect it. They're going to expect the remote signings because they know now that we can do them. So we need to pay attention to how your industry is changing. Also, you can convert to webinars, which we're doing today, and develop new topics. Maybe take your regular talk and adjust it for what's going on with the pandemic. I just heard data that people are watching webinars now more than ever before, which makes sense because they're stuck at home. So it's a good time to educate and inform people. And then of course, if you record them, you can just replay them, make them available on your YouTube channel or wherever. Also, you know, stay in touch with email, social media, and offer them resources. It's a joke now that everyone's getting an email from everybody in their email box saying about how that particular business is handling COVID-19. So we want to be careful to not oversaturate them, but let them know we're here and we're a resource. Help them feel more comfortable to call us if there's anything we can help with. And of course, in that regard, you can let them know that you're working virtually and still providing services. So I just heard that I have a friend who's practices in Brooklyn, and there was an article out there about an attorney. He said, last week I was in court. I'm sorry? Last week he was in court like 8 different times in 4 different counties. And this week he laid around in his pajamas and Netflix binged the whole week. And so this is the kind of person who, if he keeps that up, is not going to come out of this well. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for us to still help people. There's always opportunities and challenge, and this is no exception. So we just really encourage you to be a buffalo and lean into the storm and get through it as quickly as possible, as well as possible, and really lead with positive expectation for your clients and for your team.
Hey Phil, this is Missy at Atticus Family Law.
Okay, Matt.
I don't know what that was, but I muted it. So can you still talk, Matt? Hello?
I don't know. Can you?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you. Yep.
All right.
Now it's time for questions or suggestions. We know that you guys have good ideas too. So if you want to put in the chat box your question, if you want to raise your hand. Megan, do you want to tell them how to raise their hand? That's not an option on my screen. Is it an option?
Well, if there's the chat,
Okay. So we can't raise hands, just put it in the chat.
Yep, there's a Q&A,
Or
and that's where people can ask questions.
We'll watch them both.
Oh, okay, we have a couple questions. What was the name/link to the other video chat, not Zoom? That was Matt. Matt had said that one, I think.
Matt, what was that one again? Whereby?
Whereby, yeah. Whereby, yeah.
We'll put it in the notes. We'll send an email out with resources after. We'll put it in there. I can't see the questions, Megan, so you'll have to read them to us.
Yep, I can read them.
Okay. Oh, I can see that one now. We'll give you guys more time, but I want to just share something else that I thought was relevant that we can also put in the resources. You probably heard there's new SBA loans available for us small businesses at this time. And in the CARES Act that was just approved, I think it was Friday or Saturday, there is a loan for 2.5 months of payroll. It's through your local bank, funded by the SBA, and it is forgivable. I don't know all the details on it. But I have a resource that we can send to you. And so we wanted you to know about that, because I think that's one of the concerns, is just keeping everything going and moving forward during this time. So the SBA loan will be another resource for you. Matt, you want to take Adam's question?
Yeah. So Adam asks, do you have any favorite moments of service to your clients or your staff that stand out through this time? What jumps out to me was I realized with the onset of the pandemic that what I had in mind for marketing in this year, about 60% of it I was going to have to just put on a shelf and not do. And at which point then, how does my marketing, staying in contact, staying relevant, demonstrating, my experience and empathy, how can I continue that? And that needed to start with my clients. So I ended up, I've been doing for about two and a half weeks, a daily video, anywhere from 3 to 8 minutes, just talking straight to the camera, talking to my clients, and then posting it on YouTube, and it gets emailed to them. And then my service trickles it through the social media as well. But, every day is a little different. There's different news. And so I found that's a way to stay current, and be kind of present with them, kind of that alone together notion, so that we can at least have a sense of connection during this time.
Matt, I think one of the things you really did well with, I know one of those videos was last week you interviewed one of your staff attorneys about what about clients, because Matt does family law, have clients who have kids going back and forth between the houses. How does that work with this whole stay-at-home order? That was an excellent example of figuring out the client's pain point right now and providing some value to them. I would say for us, favorite moments, I just thought my staff pivoted so well. We were very well prepared to work from home, but what we had not really thought through and worked through was, how are we going to handle all these remote client meetings? And so we really worked well together to walk, especially that first week. We didn't put off any appointments. Nobody delayed. One, we actually accelerated the signing, but and we now develop tools to make it go really smooth for us too, and systems. So there's more written instructions and all that, but we just have really pivoted well. And I think the receptionist, she was doing a lot with greeting people in the office. So she had more time, but she was able to take some other things up. So they've been flexible also in what they're doing. And we've gotten some good feedback on it. Any other questions?
Margaret, let me share another thing as it relates to cash flow that you were mentioning. In addition to, you were talking about the SBA 7A loans that are good for those 2.5 months worth of your average payroll. Yeah. The other thing that I just learned about is the other prominent SBA loan is your emergency, your disaster relief sort of loan. And what I've learned is you can make application for it, and because time is of the essence and SBA loans take a while to approve, my understanding is there's an opportunity for them to immediately provide $10,000 in support, kind of an initial disbursement. But then if it turns out that you don't qualify for the disaster relief, evidently the $10,000 they give you is just given to you as an outright grant that you don't have to pay back. I have some initial information on this that I will make sure that Megan and Margaret have for sharing with attendees afterwards, because I just learned about this morning, but it's certainly nothing to turn your nose at.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with all the changes, isn't it? But that's a great resource. Thank you. I also heard since interest rates are down, it's good to contact your bank and ask if they'll reduce your interest rate on the line of credit. So I wrote to my bank this morning about that Payroll Protection Act and about the line of credit. Actually, I'd written to them last week. I don't know, has Minnesota been declared a disaster area? Because my understanding was it had to be before we could get the other SBA loan.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I just put another question on there. That was if someone, Margaret or Matt, if you want to address that one.
You see it, Matt?
Yeah, I'll read it to you. You can answer
Okay.
it, Mark. How would you suggest talking to a coworker or another attorney that keeps going into the office despite the shelter-at-home order, as if it doesn't apply to them?
Sounds like it's not an employee of yours, right? I mean, I've told my employees you can't go in unless you have permission from me. And I know some attorneys are actually exempt, and I think we are under the essential services. So maybe, I don't know, is this a co-office worker? Oh, thank you, John Meyer, about Minnesota is a disaster area for the SBA loan. Thank you.
You know, so as it goes back to the former question, how do you talk to a coworker or another attorney that keeps going to the office? I mean, if they don't report to you, and this is really more of out of friendship or just general concern, humanity concern for them, first thing you got to know is you can only do so much, right? That's one of the things that they talk about in regards to moderating expectations. But I think a few things could come into play. It depends a little bit about like what persuades them. You know, what is it, Plato that said that all persuasion is rooted in either credibility, logic, or emotion. And maybe if they're an attorney, that they're not going to be especially moved by emotion. So what else can you do in regards to this? Credibility, obviously, if there was somebody that they found to be really credible, someone they looked up to who was staying at home, that may very well be persuasive to them. The other aspect is just the logic of it, which would be like, you can pull out the statistics around what Taiwan did starting 10, 12 weeks ago, and just how, because they were uber sensitive around sheltering at home, the pandemic hardly touched them, even though they were, 120 miles off of mainland China. And so maybe that sort of logic could help persuade them. Otherwise, if they're a rebel, though, you got to realize that there's only so much you can do.
Well, I think that's good advice, Matt. I mean, it's kind of like education / peer pressure, but some people seem to think it's still a fake pandemic. So it's only so much we can do.
Yeah.
Any other questions or suggestions on any of the stuff we covered? The practicalities, the mindset, how you're feeling in all this, how you want to show up for people? What were you looking for when you came on the call? What were you hoping to get? If it's something we did or didn't cover, we'd like to know.
All right. Well, why don't the audience think about that and continue to post a chat question if you want. Let me finish out with this last bit that I want to share with you, which is that I think you're going to find that working remotely is going to include a lot of these technological solutions, whether it's the actual hardware around working that much with a webcam, some of the software things, or even just the practical system tools, such as a stand-up meeting or checking in with your clients on a regular basis, or having a weekly meeting. But what you're going to find is that whether it's the technological tools that have other features other than the ones that we've talked about, and might be the reason why you're employing that service, or if it's some of the system things like the stand-up meeting, there's going to be other considerations or effects that are going to be advantageous. And I think you're going to find that when you bring all these together, because you're bringing more than all these features and advantages together, in addition to your original purpose, is that pretty quickly these other features are going to save you time and grief, and that you're likely to find that this remote work will allow you to do as much for your customers, your clients, your patients, as you were doing for them before, if not even more. And then what's even further is you're going to be able to do more for them, but it'll require less time of you and less effort by you and your staff. And this sort of heightened efficiency where you're delivering more by working less doesn't even include the 20, 40, 60 minutes a day that your staff and you are saving by not commuting in the morning and not commuting in the afternoon, such that only goes towards strengthening you further, making you happier, more productive, and so on. The one thing I'd point out as we look at this serendipity is to let your staff be part of brainstorming solutions. That you didn't just hire them because they're good typists. You hired them because they were smart, and that they're aware, they're connected with others, friends, family, other people, Facebook messaging groups, whatever. And they get to see other people that are doing things the easy way, other people that are doing things the hard way. And they get to bring that back to you. Most importantly, they know you. And so if you're trying to provide them with a vision to lead your organization, they're going to know certain things that you like and don't like. And you want to make sure that you're including them and you give them a voice to speak up to help them keep the ship on course. And so don't forget about the advantage that all of you are stronger together than even you are as a leader leading them individually.
That is so true, Matt. I think our team has such good ideas. They're released and we brainstorm with other business owners who are like-minded, who have the Buffalo mindset. It's so important to share ideas. So that's kind of why we're here today. So I want to go over the resources that we'll send to you. And the first one, Matt had talked about the video he put together that's only 6-7 minutes long about employee reviews that staff love, that actually are not reviews exactly, they're better than reviews. That's especially important in this time. I mean, I've heard and I believe it's harder to manage virtually than in person. And so we all can come out of this better managers than ever because we just have to up our game. So we'll send that about employee reviews. We'll also send the Family Leave Act, that poster that's required to be posted, and a memo of instruction from the government that goes with it, which says you can email it. And that's supposed to be out to everybody by tomorrow. And then we'll send info about the CARES Act, that payroll protection program, which Matt, you called it 7A, is that it?
Yep.
And then if you or you have clients maybe that you think they might want to look into updating their estate plan, we are offering the free life and legacy session with them where we really, or with you, where we listen to, your concerns, what's on your heart, what your goals are, what's your situation, so we can educate and empower you to decide, help you decide what you want to do. It's not a pressure thing at all. I think there's so much we can't control right now. This is something people can control and can make a positive step forward. And maybe they have some extra time at home to pull things together. So with the life and legacy session, and and then what's that? Whereby? The Whereby link to a video that shows how to use that.
Yeah.
Was there anything else we added in during the talk? I don't remember anything else.
Also, what I have for information on that SBA disaster loan, including forgivable 10 grand advance.
Right. So, so two different pieces of the SBA loans that are available.
Yeah.
Forgivable loans. Okay, we'll send them both. And we're happy to send them. And if you have any other input or questions, please let us know. We just really want to be a resource for you and team together and hear your good ideas too, because we will get through this together and be better for it. So any other questions or comments, you can feel free to put them in the chat box. Otherwise, thank you everybody for attending. We really value and appreciate your time and hope that it goes very well for you in this season.
Thank you, Margaret and Megan, for hosting this today.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for enriching our presentation. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.